All right, got a new location here. Same old Zen master. And let's see. So I wanted to share a little bit about the um, the practice of meditation and maybe a visualization sort of that you can work with while you're doing this. Um, as I've discussed before, the process of meditation is very simple as far as just sitting still and observing the mind in action, which is always a fun time. If it's distressing or enjoyable, um, we like labeling it as such. And something that I was commenting to somebody on Twitter actually about um, the way this works. I said something like, the universe is continually in motion. Life is continually in motion. It's a sea of change. There's nothing to grapple onto. But the way that our conditioning works, the way that our mind has built itself over the years, we're seeking something solid, and that's what most people are doing most of the time. They're chasing after one thing or another, trying to reach that thing or that moment or that person, that job, whatever it might be. And then you get there, and lo and behold, it doesn't satisfy. And you can repeat this process ad nauseum, as most of us do, until you come to grips with the indisputable fact is that change is the only certainty, or uncertainty is the only certainty. Like it or not, that's what we're dealing with here. So meditation is the process of familiarizing ourselves and immersing ourselves and ultimately becoming the changeable reality that's around us, becoming one with that. It's our mind that tries to keep things still and try to make something solid out of it, to say, this one thing is, and I've found it, and look at that, and isn't that wonderful, and so what you'll notice during the process of meditation is that your mind is continually doing this, even when you're sitting still with your eyes closed and not focusing on anything in particular. There's going to be mental ideas or emotions, thoughts and identifications and all sorts of shoulds and should nots and all that fun stuff that the mind instantly is trying to, you can kind of feel it almost. Your mind is trying to form something because it doesn't like the emptiness of meditation. It doesn't like the indefinite feeling that it is confronted with when you're just sitting there not doing anything. This is hell for the mind. It's the absolute worst thing that it can deal with, because there's not it's a kind of a free fall in a way, and that's very uncomfortable to deal with for a mechanism that is conditioned and oftentimes survives off of solid objects, clear-cut identities and answers and means to ends and all of that. Also not helpful that our world basically still works in this fashion as far as accumulating the most stuff or having the most, or what your identity is and who you are. Hopefully we are moving away from that gradually. And so that silence that we are confronted with in meditation is the practice of becoming one. And so it is a creating a space, an expanding consciousness, if you will, or expanding ability to remain in the uncertainty, or remaining in the void without clinging on to one thing or the other. Not this, not that, as the neti thing goes. So, and you can see this happening firsthand as you're going through it. You're kind of, you can, if you were to label the thoughts and emotions that come and go as you're sitting quietly, you'll see, there's one, there's another one, there's another one, and there's a space in between each concept or whatever it is that is arising in your mind. And that space is the key. That's what needs to be expanded, where the thoughts are the clouds in the sky moving by, and the space is the sky that's there at all times, and the space in which the clouds can arise. So we're trying to move away from the incessant cloudiness and the ongoing storms of the mind, which gets so bogged down in and identified with all of the various phenomena that we see in this world, and the forms and the identities, as I've mentioned. So that is the practice, in a nutshell, is expanding the space in between. And as I've discussed, the scientific part of that is pretty straightforward, as far as, the longer time you spend building that space inside of yourself, as opposed to our identity or objective obsession with the world, then the brain itself actually rearranges itself. It changes. We have a plastic brain that can be changed over time. And so that is how this process works. So you're training yourself to stay in that space and making it larger and larger each time you're sitting. Each time you're sitting and meditating. And so that it feels a bit unnatural and or very uncomfortable at first, because you're basically addicted to the objects and forms and all the things that come and go in our mind that we're so used to chasing after, and so used to giving us a sense of self and a sense of separation and a sense of me and mine and all that. The space is universal, and that's what is real, and that's what lasts, and that is what brings us to peace ultimately. And that, that's where the term awkward silence comes from. We're not accustomed to we're not accustomed to allowing that to be there. It's just, oh crap, there's that thing we've got to avoid and fill it with something. and you don't have to do that, despite how things may seem. So that is the practice, and the longer that you're able to, um, it is basically forcing it. At the beginning when you're starting out meditating, you're kind of got to force yourself to not latch on to whatever thing comes through your awareness. Whatever idea it is, because it's very, the momentum of our mind is so strongly accustomed to doing that you've got to just really grab a hold of yourself and just don't go down that road and just let it pass. But as you're doing it more, it will be a lot easier, in fact probably natural, for you not to pick up various things, objects and forms and all that. And as I've said, that is the activity of the default mode network in our brain, which is measurable and has been studied and researched and shown to the degree that we are latched on to our thoughts and identity and self-image and all that. And this creates depression and anxiety and separation from the world. And to the extent that we can live in the space, or allow ourselves to be in the silence, in the void, in between thoughts, and making that space larger and larger, to the extent that we do that, we are we're going in the other direction. We're removing the separation. We're removing the depression and the anxiety, which fills us, and moving back to where we came from, a much simpler and easy and flowing sort of existence. We're not trying to steer everything so much. We're not trying to pick a particular outcome or a particular way that things have to happen. Life is just happening through us and as us, as opposed to a continual struggle and fight to make things work the way that whatever the conditioned mind happens to think they should. Well, yeah, I think that's about all I've got for right now. Yeah, so I'm in the new location now, and hopefully we'll be moving along as far as getting something solid set up. I would like to, as I mentioned before, get a physical location. While I'm still open to doing Zoom meetings, if people are interested in that. If you want to get a hold of me, you can do so through the website. But yeah, down in sunny Florida now, so shoot me a message if you want to get a hold, or any feedback at all is always welcome. All right, see you guys.